3 superhero-related Disney Plus programs, plus the return of the fabulous Queer as Folk from the early 2000s. That is back, and they are among the 6 new shows we're going to talk about on TV, news, and reviews. Hey guys, Dan here. This is Dan Reviews It. Welcome to TV News and Reviews for the week. We've got 6 new shows to talk about, including Ms. Marvel. That's on Disney Plus, and the latest of the, of course, Marvel shows. You probably could have figured that out. And also, there's 2 other shows that premiered on Disney Channel, but that you can watch on Disney Plus right now, too, in the vein of like superheroes, supervillains kind of thing. The Villains of Valley View, and then Ultraviolet and Black Scorpion. So we're going to tackle all 3 of those sort of similarly themed shows, at least in the superhero realm, that are all on Disney Plus. But you've also got the Queer as Folk reboot. You've got a show called Irma Vep, which is a mini-series with the fabulous Alicia Vikander. We love her. And then This Is Going to Hurt as well, to finish off the program, which is a Ben Whishaw program, getting a lot of rave reviews for that one. But before we get into that, of course, we've got to do the news. But I got to tell you, there really isn't much. I have a few renewals and cancellations, but that's it. And then we're going to dive right into the reviews. So shorter program this week, I think. But in renewals, we've got Dark Winds, already renewed at AMC, just 2 weeks into its season 1 run. I have not watched this show yet, but this will be on next week's TV News and Reviews, so already renewed for season 2. That bodes well for it, but it has the #1 launch in AMC Plus history. Now, it is on the regular AMC, but of course they put then, within usually 24 hours, you can get the show on AMC Plus. So this is the #1 launch in AMC Plus history. In terms of broadcast network, it is the #5 basic cable show overall, with 2.2 million viewers after just the first 3 days for that premiere episode. So pretty impressive stuff. It's another Western from what I understand. We've been tackling a lot of Westerns lately on the show, but I will look into that next week for Dark Winds. And then the other renewal I have is Killing It. This is on Peacock, coming back for season 2. I really enjoyed this first season. I think it only had 6 episodes, but it's Craig Robinson from The Office, and I forget the gal's name that's in it with him, but she's very funny too. We've seen her in a few different things, but so glad to see that coming back. And then 2 long-running shows that are going to be ending after the upcoming seasons. Working Moms, which we can see here in the United States on Netflix, but it is a CBC original. That is going to end with the upcoming season 7. I have not watched a minute of this show, although I will say one of my friends just recommended it to me last week. So I guess I got to get on the stick with this since it's about to wrap up with season 7, which will be coming soon. I guess it airs first on CBC, and then a few months later it comes to Netflix. So I don't know if we'll see it this year or 2023 or what, but that'll be the last season. And then Snowpiercer, ending with the upcoming season 4 on TNT. I am still way behind on this program, but I loved the first few episodes that I watched. I guess at this point I'll just wait till it wraps up and then maybe binge it, but a lot of star power behind this, and TNT really running out of original shows. They've either canceled or shuffled their programs to other networks at this point. And really in that realm, they call them the 3 T's because they're all owned by Warner Brothers, but they all start with T. So it's TBS, TNT. I think maybe the other one is True TV, but in any case, they're really kind of wrapping up on their original content and moving more into the streaming stuff because Warner Brothers owns HBO Max and Discovery Plus. So, they're doing a lot of that. But anyway, Snowpiercer fans, the upcoming season 4 will be the end. All right, so that's it. Let's move into the reviews already. I told you this will be a slightly shorter show than normal because not a lot of news coming out. But Ms. Marvel is going to be the first one we talk about. That is on Disney Plus. Whenever there's a new Marvel series, of course, we've got to start there. It's always the most popular of the week. So this is about the character Kamala Khan, who is a 16-year-old uber fan of the Avengers. So this is sort of, movie within a movie kind of thing, universe within a universe or whatever. And we've seen this before with Hawkeye. We've seen it with the Tom Holland version of Spider-Man, where they just are obsessed with the Avengers and maybe specific ones or whatever. But here, she loves really the Avengers on the whole. And eventually, now, I don't know if we'll get to it in this particular show at all, because not all the episodes have been put out, but this leads into the new Captain Marvel movie, which is going to be called The Marvels. And so I don't know if Brie Larson's Captain Marvel is going to appear in this show. I don't think it's a spoiler because I have no idea if she does or not. But there's only 6 episodes of this program, and then this will lead into the 2023 film, The Marvels, and we'll have, sort of the same cast of characters here. So Iman Vellani plays Kamala Khan / Ms. Marvel, and she is, just learning to figure out what her powers are. She doesn't realize at first that she has them, but she gains this ability to harness cosmic energy and can create what she calls hard light, which is, basically sturdy things out of nothing that she can walk on or whatever. And they're all sort of neon lit up, so that's why she calls it hard light. So in any event, this is as much about that as it is about her family and her upbringing and really her coming of age. And I think we'll notice a bit of a theme in all 3 of these Disney Plus shows, which we're going to sort of talk about all 3 of them first here, even though the other 2 shows aren't nearly as high profile as Ms. Marvel. But they all sort of have this theme of coming of age, specifically women, but, just in general. And Ms. Marvel leading the pack here. Look, we're getting a lot of Marvel shows. I don't think that is a secret. I would say at this point, 2 to 3 months, we're doing a new one. I don't even think it's been quite 2 months since we did the last one, which was Moon Knight. So they're cranking them out. For me personally, I think it's a little much. They could slow the roll because I haven't finished most of them. I do these reviews for you guys, so I will watch the first 2 episodes typically, sometimes 3 if I have a little more time, but that's usually it. And so I have only finished WandaVision. Have I finished any of the other ones? I don't even know. So they're all pretty short. 6 episodes usually is the typical, but I do have a few flaws for this. I do think we've been down this road before with the obsession with the Avengers and the other Marvel characters. Like I mentioned, Haley Steinfeld's character in Hawkeye, Tom Holland in the first Spider-Man. So we've sort of been there with that already. So I'm not sure that we need more of that. And there's also a little too many Disney references. Like, we get it. You're on Disney Plus, but they talk about Mulan. They talk about Encanto. Just in like the first 10 minutes of the first episode. And I do think it's maybe a little bit too cutesy. Like, she's an aspiring artist and graphic designer, so we see a lot of, sort of cartoon things around her. That's a trope that I think can work sometimes, maybe not other times. I have mixed feelings about it in this particular show, but at least it makes sense that she is sort of in her inner thoughts a lot, and so we see kind of the results of that outwardly in cartoon form. So, all right, but a couple of positives. First of all, the first episode opens with the Marvel credits roll, but it's not over the usual song, that real, like, anthemic, I'm not going to try and, do it for you, but you know what I mean if you've seen a Marvel movie or TV show. But they chose The Weeknd's Blinding Lights over the beginning of the first episode with that Marvel thing going over it. And I have to say, it brought me right in because, like, musically and beats-wise, it worked out perfectly. It sounded great with that visual. And I have to admit, the Marvel opening, it is one of my favorite, not promo, but like it's one of my favorite like logos in film and television. I love that song when it comes on. It's so bombastic and powerful with the imagery. But I think Blinding Lights worked really well with it too. And the music on the whole is great here. There's a nice mix of current pop tunes and Hindi music as well. In fact, A.R. Rothman, that worked on Slumdog Millionaire, the music for that, I thought actually worked really well here too. So there's a mix of sort of that Hindi vibe as well musically. But other than that, this lead gal, Iman Vellani, is fantastic. She's so great as this character, and I think some of the best stuff in the Marvel Universe is not just, okay, let's see the person getting their powers and how they handle it and what they do. And yes, we do get a montage of that here in the first episode. But what's great about this series, and that I loved about the Tom Holland Spider-Man as well, that first movie, is that it's really a great high school movie. It's a great coming-of-age movie, and it's a great, let's get to know the characters as a teenager movie. And I feel the same about this program. I think this gal brings that enthusiasm to this character, and it really is as much of a coming of age high school show as it is a superhero show. Yeah, she's got some powers, but I do like that we're kind of getting to know her a little bit, as opposed to some of the time. I mean, most of the Marvel shows so far, except for Moon Knight, I guess, have been about characters that already exist. And yeah, even Hawkeye, like, okay, we met the Haley Steinfeld character, but Hawkeye obviously existed in the MCU already, as did Wanda, and as did Loki, and as did the Winter Soldier and the Falcon. So other than Moon Knight, this is really one of the first ones that has given us a completely brand new character. And I guess if you combine all 6 episodes, it's about 2.5 hours. So it could have been an opening movie, but they decided to go with the TV show, which is fine. They've got enough movies in the pipeline for this year, certainly. But for all my ragging on Marvel all the time about, how many shows do we need and what are we doing, this was a great one. This is maybe, it's not going to be better than WandaVision, I guess, but from the first couple episodes, WandaVision I was still so confused about. It wasn't until like episodes 3 and 4 that it really started to take shape. This one, the audience knows what it is immediately, and I think it works very well. For me, Ms. Marvel gets an A-, a really strong start, and it does make me more excited for the Marvel's movie, which will be out in 2023. So, all right, so we're going to sort of stick with this theme. Normally, I would go next to Queer as Folk because that's sort of the other real popular one of the week. But Disney Plus has all 3 of these shows kind of starting at once, where superheroes and supervillains are sort of involved. So we're going to move next to those 2, which premiered on the Disney Channel, but you can see them on Disney Plus as well after the fact. So The Villains of Valley View is the first one we're going to talk about there. And this stars, pretty much all new people. Isabella Papas is the lead here, and she is, again, a teenage girl. She's probably about the same age as Ms. Marvel. She's in high school, certainly. But this is basically a supervillain family with all these different powers. Her powers are sonic. We have a shapeshifter in the family. We have a super strengther. And, look, these are kind of the typical archetype superpowers for people in these types of shows. And then the father is a mad scientist who makes gadgets, and he's played by James Patrick Stewart, who you may have seen in just random episodes of TV shows. He did a Seinfeld, he did a Frasier. So he's been around for a while. But basically, they're trying to move into a new neighborhood and hide their powers. And this, again, is a trope we've seen time and time again. No Ordinary Family with Michael Chiklis comes to mind. But we've seen it before. But look, this is a Disney Channel, laugh track sitcom. So you've got a lot of those sort of, setups and maybe some physical comedy and maybe some corny jokes. But I have to admit, I liked this a lot. I really like the family dynamic here. I liked this lead girl. I think she was funny. And, the neighbors sort of are... the mom is sort of totally thrown off and doesn't know anything about it. The daughter is sort of getting some hints that maybe something is not right with this family. So that all sort of bleeds into it. Look, this show is not going to be highbrow. It's your typical kind of Disney Channel laugh track comedy. In fact, it's from the It's a Laugh production company, which brought us like The Sweet Life of Zack and Cody and Hannah Montana and some of the Disney Channel classics. And I'm not sure if this is quite up to that level, but it's kind of in that vein. You sort of know what you're getting into. But to be honest, I laughed a lot in just the first episode. I don't usually stick with these shows once I review them. It's not really my age demo. But for a good stupid laugh, I can totally see this being good for the Disney Channel set. I think it's very, very funny. I'm gonna leave The Villains of Valley View with a B+. These types of shows I don't spend too long on because I know you guys don't necessarily come to my channel to talk about kid shows, but want to throw them out there, for those of you that maybe do have kids or like kids programming yourself. We don't do like the little kid shows anymore, like the new Boss Baby show on Netflix. I didn't do that. Oh, speaking of which, I do want to say, and I'm not going to review it, but there's a new show. Remember Face, the mascot from Nick Jr. for like 20 years? In the 90s and early 2000s. Maybe he wasn't on that long. But anyway, he's been gone a long time. I used to love seeing Face on my TV. And it would only be like if I left Nick at Night on when I went to bed. And then I would turn it on at like noon. And, oh, there's Face, telling me about the next Blues Clues episode or whatever. But he's got a new show called Face's Music Party. And it's on Nick Jr. And it's really cool. I'm not going to review it, like I said, but he plays music videos. But then he also plays like versions of classic kids songs like Itsy Bitsy Spider and stuff like that are put to new videos. So, if you have little ones, like I would say under 4 or 5 or something, this is going to be a cute show for them. But anyway, the other Disney Plus one I wanted to mention, Ultraviolet and Black Scorpion, premiering on Disney Channel, but all the episodes are up on Disney Plus, even though I think they've only aired maybe 3 of these so far. But here's another one where, it's a female lead. It's another coming-of-age story. Scarlett Estevez plays her, and from what I can tell, no relation to Emilio Estevez or, the Martin and Charlie Sheen family. But basically, she's a little bit younger, I think, than Ms. Marvel and the gal from The Villains of Valley View. She's, I would say, about 13 or 14 here, and she is constantly being overshadowed by her older brother, Santiago, and one day she sees this mask to basically chooses her, let's say, and so she puts it on and becomes this new superhero called Ultraviolet, and her big power is super speed. So in the first episode, like we see a lot of times, she's learning to use the power. We do see the montage, the classic. And this one does have some humor in it. But I would say it's probably wise that this one doesn't have a laugh track like The Villains of Valley View. Because I think it's a little bit more, I would say, like action-oriented than that show, where sort of pratfalls and physical comedy is the name of the game. Here, the comedy comes more in, like little smaller doses, or, not as like hit you over the head with a joke kind of thing. More slice of life type stuff. And there's some humor here, but I would prefer, of all 3 of the shows, I guess, to watch Ms. Marvel for sure, and then The Villains of Valley View next. And this gal is good. But I think the script for the show is very, very generic. They don't do interesting things like Ms. Marvel. It's an okay show overall, and I think it does pair well, actually, with The Villains of Valley View. I believe they're on, one after the other on Disney Channel. So it's a nice pairing, but I certainly wouldn't say this is quite in the same league with those 2 shows. But anyway, like I said, I don't spend too much time on the kids stuff, so I'm going to leave Ultraviolet and Black Scorpion with a B-, and we will move on to some bigger name shows. Queer as Folk is next, shifting gears, quite dramatically, I think. This one is extremely adult. The original, of course, was on Showtime for many years in the early 2000s, and now this one is on Peacock. And I don't believe that we have anybody from that original show. I could be wrong, because, to be honest, I didn't really watch it. I didn't have Showtime at the time. I know about it, and I know, some of the people that came from it, but I don't believe this really has any direct link to that show other than the name. But it's set in New Orleans, and it features, as you would imagine, a bunch of people that are LGBTQ and living their lives, as they know how to, out and proud, most of them. Some of them maybe a little more in the closet than others. And I don't really recognize any of the actors here. Devin Way, Finn Argus, Jesse James Keitel, Ryan O'Connell, and Johnny Sibley are sort of the leads here. However, the parents, now we know some of them. Juliette Lewis, plays one of the moms. Kim Cattrall plays one of the moms. This is, I guess, what she chose to do instead of that Sex and the City reboot. Ed Begley Jr. is one of the fathers. So some of the adults we know, even if we don't maybe recognize the youth angle of this. And by youth, there are a couple that are in like high school age, but many of them are sort of like young 20s, mid 20s, that kind of age range, which I think, vibes with the original show. So this is something, near and dear to my heart as a gay man. I guess I should have watched Queer as Folk at some point, but I just never did. But what they chose to do with this is extremely interesting, because not only is it just, okay, let's throw a bunch of queer people into the mix here and talk about their lives. No, in the middle of episode 1, this is, I guess, a slight spoiler, but the whole plot, I think, of this first season is going to sort of be surrounding this one incident. But about halfway through the first episode, there is a nightclub shooting at a gay club, so it's reminiscent of the Pulse massacre in Florida. And so now we have the aftermath of that. Almost the entire second half of that first episode takes place in the hospital, in different rooms with different people, both people that were there and then, some of the parents coming in and whatever. But it makes it a completely different and urgent kind of story, especially coming, God bless, but coming just a week, I guess, or so after the shooting in Texas, the school shooting. So obviously this is still, a hot topic, and they could have certainly done it in the original too, I guess, because that would have been shortly after Columbine or whatever. But no, obviously the Pulse nightclub for the gay community was a huge thing, and so I admire that they sort of are going into this head on. I feel like the L Word, which was another old Showtime, queer show that they brought back. That was a direct continuation because they had a few of the same characters. But I just didn't connect with that at all. But this one I really do, because I think they're doing something brave with it and extremely different. And the acting, is okay. I don't think we're getting any, Emmy-winning performances out of this cast. But I think they're still trying to sort of find their vibe. But there is, some graphic sex in this show. There's some nudity, obviously a lot of language, and they're clubbing. So, there's a little bit of drug use as well. So, unlike the first 3 shows that we talked about, very family friendly, this goes completely the opposite direction. It is, definitely in your face, I think, about its queerness, but it's also in your face about being human and PTSD from an event like that, and a lot of things that really are very universal. I like this a lot. I'm going to give the new Queer as Folk a B+. I'm interested to see where it goes, if this is sort of the thread for the entire season or just these first couple episodes, but I imagine this is sort of going to be the theme that we're going back to over and over again in this season at the very least. Another good reboot there. All right, so next we're going to talk about Irma Vep, and this is apparently based on a film of the same name, a foreign film from the mid-90s, something I knew nothing about. But this has a very theatrical vibe to it. In fact, some of the episodes premiered at the Cannes Film Festival earlier this year. But this is over on HBO, and of course you can watch on HBO Max then as well. And Alicia Vikander is the star here, and we've seen her in so many things. I am a fan, for sure. She's been nominated, for a lot of different awards. I guess what really brought her to attention for many was Ex Machina, which was a very, very cool sci-fi film about 8 years ago at this point. But, she was in The Danish Girl, which I believe she got an Oscar nomination for. She was the new Lara Croft when they rebooted Tomb Raider a couple of years ago. So, she's been in a lot of, high-profile movies, and I think she always does a great job. But she plays Mira here, who is an American movie star who sort of is having a little bit of a dip in her career and also a recent breakup. So she's, headed into some tabloid-type areas. But she comes to France to star in this Irma Vep movie, which is a remake of a French silent film, Les Vampires, which I had to look up. This is real, and they use actual footage from the real thing in this to sort of, she's watching it to get some grasp on her character. But this apparently is a very, very famous movie serial. I was unfamiliar with it, but it is listed in that 1001 movies you must see before you die. It's listed in that, and it's, I think, one of the earliest entries because it's from like the 1910s. But anyway, so we basically get to know this Mira as the story goes. She, is working through her tabloid stuff. She's working on herself. She's working on her career. And I think in the hands of a different actress, maybe this could have fallen a little more flat. Or, okay, this is really inside Hollywood. This is too inside film for me. I'm just a guy who likes movies. I personally like stuff like this that is a little inside because I love film. But I think for the average person, they might not care as much. But with her, as the lead character, I think it is really helped by it. Because we get to know, she's so good with her emotions and stuff like that. So I feel like we kind of feel for this character. The acting here, really, really good. So yeah, I mean, it's a mini series, so we're only going to get, I think it's 6 episodes total, and then we'll wrap it. But it made me curious to actually seek out this Les Vampires. That's how sort of compelling this movie is, because it's sort of putting us into that world of, okay, this is a high-profile role for this woman. It may save her career. What is it about that sort of the themes of the movie, and they're sort of paralleling her lives. And so, yeah, I think it's a pretty good show. So far, I'm enjoying it. I'm going to give Irma Vep a B+. Vikander, another great performance from her. She could get a nomination perhaps for this. All right, and then I am saving, I think, the best for last. Well, maybe not. We've had a lot of good ones this episode, actually, but this one is called This Is Going to Hurt. This is a British comedy series. Well, it's more of a dramedy, I would say. But it's on AMC here in America, but it's on the BBC. So if you have BBC America, you could probably see it there as well. But this is focusing on the lives of junior doctors working as OBGYNs in that ward of a national hospital. Ben Whishaw plays Adam Kay, who, this is a real person. The show was created by him and based on his memoir, which was also called This Is Going to Hurt. And so essentially, well, Ben Whishaw, everything he does is gold. He is the voice of Paddington, so we love him from that. But then he's also in, the Daniel Craig Bond movies. And I'm pretty sure he was in the Mary Poppins Returns, right? He played the dad in that. So anyway, they're sort of working through the hospital hierarchy, him and the other junior doctors, and trying to find their footing and figure out where their place is, while sort of struggling through their own issues and their own personal demons, let's say. And look, I admit I am kind of a sucker for a hospital drama. Currently I do watch The Resident on Fox. I like that one. New Amsterdam's pretty good on NBC. I gave up a long time ago on Grey's Anatomy and that kind of thing. But I don't necessarily like the more soapy nature of that stuff, which is why, Grey's only did it for me for a couple of years and then I had to give it up. But this brings us sort of the best of everything, because it is funnier than your typical hospital drama. It's certainly not, drop down to the floor with laughter, but I think it's got definitely a more sort of tongue-in-cheek tone than a lot of the hospital stuff. A lot of the things we see are very, very deadly serious and dramatic. And look, it makes sense. You're in a hospital. It is life or death, a lot of the time. But it's been a while, I think, since we've had something really unique in the hospital show genre. And I think this one brings it. I think it's giving us interesting characters to root for. It's giving us a different sort of look. Like usually we're into the surgery wards and the oddity cases like in House or something. But here we're focusing really on that OBGYN wing of the hospital. So it's more of a centered sort of focus. I think a lot of times we sort of go all over the place. Oh, okay, he's a surgeon, so he does, everything. But here we're a little more focused, which does mean, yes, there's, a lot of women-centric stories here. But Ben Whishaw acting the hell out of this role. And I think he is sort of in that maybe kind of a House vein. Not that he's a curmudgeon like House, but in terms of like the comedy drama mix, like you're sort of laughing because this guy's life is such a mess and he's trying to just barely keep it together, and you can say, oh, well, thank God that's not me, kind of thing. But meanwhile, he is trying to, help people and save people's lives and whatever. This is one of the best new hospital shows I've seen in a long, long time. So I'm going to leave This Is Going to Hurt with an A-. So listen, all positives this week. We love to see it, right? Especially, I think, was it last week that we did mostly negatives I gave grades for. So it just, the yin and the yang, it balances out, I guess. But yeah, all positives this week. Ms. Marvel, I really do think, other than WandaVision, and maybe if I finish watching some of these other shows, I'll feel this way about them. But in terms of like the grabbing you right from the start, I think Ms. Marvel does it better than most of the Marvel shows. So that's definitely one to watch. This Is Going to Hurt, I think, maybe on my year-end list as well. So that's one to watch. But all right, thank you for watching, and we'll see everybody back here next time on TV News and Reviews. Bye.